And hey there, hi there, ho there, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. It is Saturday, May 9th, 2020, here in the Ville as we get started on what is really the true start of the summer slump. It started a month or so early this year, but we're really going to get into where the semester is over. Spring sports would start to be wrapping up here, and we're getting towards the end of the 2019-2020 athletic season, as it were, or as it would be. But we'll keep it going with the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour, as we always do. We'll get through the summer slump one way or the other. One day we'll figure out how to do a quiz, and that'll get us through, I imagine. But for now, we'll get started as we normally do, and I'll let Paulie take it away.
Good morning, all. Yeah, welcome back, everybody, to the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. That quiz idea that you had mentioned there, I do have some ideas on it. I think I'm going to maybe wait just a couple more weeks before I try to present one out there, since we normally traditionally bring that back during the actual summer slump. So we'll keep a tradition on that in a highly untraditional world right now, as it would be. But a lot of fun things to talk about today, gang. Certainly some interesting news on several of the sports out there. We've got some great interviews that we can review that I did earlier in the week. Who knows? We might even talk about Todd Sharp. Never know about that. But Case, get us on into a little bit of Twitter and also a little bit of what would have been scheduled.
Yeah, so as always, I tweet us at best case scenario. You can follow me. I tweet about sports. When there's nothing to tweet about sports, I don't really tweet. So there's the fun in that. Jeff tweets us at Jeff McAdams and at Card Couple Radio. Paulie tweets us at Cardinal Couple. And Jared tweets us at Mr. Anderson Jared. He's been doing a few still life photo shoots, you could say, landscapes and old buildings that are abandoned, as he socially distances while being a photographer. So be sure to follow along for fun stuff like that. And as always, you can check out the right side of the Cardinal Couple website for a curated Twitter list of all the UofL women's athletics. And be sure to follow those on Twitter and Instagram as well for the daily ongoings of players and teams and the like. All the UofL women's athletics do a really good job of using their social media. As for what would be on the schedule, I stumbled through it last week, saying the wrong thing, but this week would have been Ulmer Stadium hosting the softball ACC championships. Would have been a chilly weekend for that, but I think it would have been a chilly weekend for that anywhere, so Louisville would not have been the uncommon factor there. Women's golf would be getting started in the NCAA regionals as well. Baseball hosting some rivalry matchups against NC State. I think they're becoming a all sports rival, conference rival anyway. They also would have been taking on interstate rival Indiana later in the midweek. And then track would have taken the ACC Outdoor Championships this week as well, this upcoming week. So, like I said, we would have been getting towards the end of the seasons here. So that's what it is. That's the schedule. Obviously, nothing on it. Kentucky phased reopening on Monday of office buildings. Most offices that I know are still encouraging employees to work from home if they already were. So that's what I'll be doing.
Yeah, yeah. My former employer apparently just announced. One of my former employers apparently just announced for all people in their offices that they're going to be work from home through the end of the year. Actually, so
Wow.
yeah. I mean, I think it's probably a good idea for most places to do that. I mean, unless you really have some particularized need for employees to be in the office, in which case they probably have been. You know, if you're an employer or manager and you can let your people work from home, probably a good idea to keep that up for a while.
I can agree with you 100% on that, Jeff. Being a little more elderly than you two, I'm a big believer of social distancing. And it kind of, honestly, kind of pains me every time I hear Andy talk about the age of the deaths there because I can identify with those ages up there. So, yeah, but be safe, be careful, wash your hands, do all that good stuff that we are implored and reminded to do each day because you don't want to catch this thing, kids. I guarantee you, you don't want to be down with it. Yeah, we do have things to talk about today, though. Some very interesting things. Things of spanning a lot of different sports today. So
I,
this should be a fun show.
I would like to jump in real quick on a side note. I let Case and Polly know this in our pre-show chat. I want to let our listeners know my home internet. I put a comment up. My home internet connection is out right now, so I'm connected through my mobile phone. So if audio is garbled a little bit this week or drops out, please accept my apologies in advance. Hopefully it won't. We'll see how it holds up. So far I think we're doing fairly well, but just wanted to let everybody know we may have some issues because of that this week.
Well, just stay plugged in and make sure your bars are high, Jeff. Okay, and then
Yeah, easier said than
fine.
done.
Unlike last week when Jeff drops off the call, I won't continue talking as if the show's going on
Yeah.
because I'll know that when he's gone, the show's off. So
Right.
I can just let that go.
Yeah, because Jeff's having the trouble this week. I had the trouble last week. Yeah, whatever. In case it's just, I think you'll catch it next week, maybe. I hope not.
Hope
But
not.
a lot of fun stuff to talk about today, guys. And I think let's go ahead and just take a look at your article today, Case, to start off with. A very nice write on the futures of softball coming up. One of the spring sports at U of L, as it was let go and announced a little bit that Caitlin Ferguson, who we all know as Fergie or Ferg, who would have had a season to play, an extra season granted to her, coming up for Louisville, has decided to forego that season and go into pharmacy school. Case, what's going on with the old Ferg here?
Yeah, I mentioned in the article today, I don't think this is the last type of this announcement that we're going to see for the sports that we cover. I noted that, not all of the women's athletics in college have the same post university aspirations that some other college athletics do. And so while it's great that the NCAA granted that blanket waiver to give everyone the opportunity to play another season, to get the opportunity to play that spring or that senior season, not everyone's going to take that. Some people are already at the end of their 4 years in school. They're ready to move on with their lives. Time to take that next step, and we'll wish all the best to Caitlin Ferguson as she's doing just that. She doesn't want to delay her pharmacy school. It would be tough to play and go to pharmacy school at the same time, and U of L doesn't have one anyway, so
Right.
not an option there. But if it were, I think that she still would make this decision. But yeah, like I said, I don't know that this will be the last one, but it is the first that we've seen so far.
Yeah, we may not see too terribly many, so we don't have a whole lot of seniors on spring sports, right?
That's
I
true.
mean, we only have one other senior in the softball team, Funky.
And I imagine she'll stay.
Yeah, and as far as I know, she's planning on staying. No big deal there. And I don't think there's too terribly many from lacrosse. The others, I guess, swimming and diving, maybe a few there. Golf,
Cross-country.
but yeah, track and field, not cross country. Cross country is fall, but
Oh, correct. Yeah,
it's largely the same group of athletes, though. Yeah, so we may not see too many of them, but it certainly, you're right. There's a chance that there will be some more of these, of course.
And certainly on women's golf, we do know that Lauren Hartledge will return, which
Yeah,
is huge
of course, she was only a junior, so
for Whitney Wade Young
yeah,
to have her coming back in. I mean, the pro options, the tour options were possibly there for her.
right.
Certainly very excited about that. And also, she's going to endeavor to be one of my next interviews on Cardinal Couples. I'm going to try and get with Whitney Wade Young
Hmm.
and have a chat with her. She's always so personable and friendly. I don't think we'll have any trouble hooking up with her.
Right.
We'll put that up at the site. But moving back to the Ferg here, it now leaves that left side of the Cardinal infield in softball very, very barren. Sidney Melton, who had been such a staunch and stable force at third base, gone, and now Ferg gone at shortstop. Let's go ahead and bat this one around the infield, to use a term here, guys. Jeff, what about this? This left side of the infield is nada anymore.
Well, we saw in the first part of the season, the aborted season, we saw brains losing the name here. Jenna Servey.
Servey.
Yeah, was playing third base, right? So I think that position is probably fairly well served. I think she was doing a pretty good job with it. So, give her a chance to improve. She's, freshman, so have another, year under her belt of practice getting in there. So I think third base is in good shape. Shortstop is a different question. I don't know what the options are there. Obviously, we have a new freshman class that will be coming in. See what what possibilities come up there. I'm not that familiar with what our options are here. A lot of names that I'm not familiar with. I haven't really seen play a whole lot. So
Yeah, not a lot of infield options listed just on the roster right now. Eden Mayo would be one. A redshirt freshman infielder.
Okay.
I could see moving Maddie Newman from second to short. She's listed as second base and outfield, so she's got the arm to throw across diamond too. And then maybe moving someone else to the second base position, as it could be a little bit easier to fill, would be something that I could potentially see happening there. Or likewise, you could move Jenna Servey to shortstop. Third base players can often fill that shortstop role as well, and then send Maddie Newman over to third.
Right.
To take advantage of that strong arm.
Man, Maddie Newman's a pretty darn good second base player, though. I always hate to move her. Yeah, you do have a couple other options. I guess you've got Taja Felder is listed as a utility, also a pitcher. So possibly you could plug a little bit in there. I'm not super keen on having a pitcher also playing shortstop, but it's a possibility.
You've got Alana Ornelas also listed as a utility player there.
Yeah. So, some players that I don't have a whole lot of familiarity with. So, that's some interesting possibility. Lexi Carver is listed as catcher in infield. So, maybe. But there's certainly been precedent at UofL of catchers moving out to fielding positions, even into the outfield. So, it's not unheard of to do that.
An early answer to this, guys, could possibly come on Friday. I was informed earlier in the week that Lori Cordy, who is the Assistant Sports Information Director for softball and other sports as well, like field hockey, is trying to set up one of the teleconferences. At the time, she had planned on setting it up with Funk and Ferg and also Coach Holly. Now, whether Ferg will still be a part of it or not, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But if that is the case, certainly we can always ask of Coach Holly if she's had any thoughts about who she's going to replace Ferg with, and see who's on her early list of possible candidates to take over that position. So that'll be coming up later on this week. If it goes as scheduled, hopefully I think it can. I know certainly Celine Funky would not have any hesitations jumping on a teleconference with anybody.
No, not at all.
So we'll look forward to see with that and see if it does come to fruition, and then certainly ask some questions on that for sure. But it's one of those things that you guys mentioned is going to happen with some of the spring sports. I saw that a UK player who had been granted that extra year because of COVID was, I think, their leading hitter up there, RBI specialist and everything else, has also decided that she's not going to return, even though she's got that to go ahead and pursue business opportunities. I want to say I can't remember the player's name up there, but it was UK's leading RBI girl and just a power hitter up there. So it's happening at other schools as well.
Yeah.
One of those things.
Yeah, this is going to be, system wide. It's just the situation. These players have been in 4 years of school, and most of them, some of them 5, and they're wrapping up their undergrad work for the most part and ready to move on. Some variability obviously in that, but they've got their career to get underway in a lot of cases, or graduate schooling for example, in the case of Caitlin Ferguson, where we don't have the program at U of L that she wants to go into in the pharmacy. So that's totally understandable, and wish her well, and we'll continue to be a fan of hers in life.
Absolutely. I think we also ought to check the records very closely and see if we can find some more eligibility for Chelsea Bemis to come back and play here.
Yeah.
One of my favorite players of infield of all times.
Yep.
Okay.
She has
So we'll see what happens.
she has remained in shape. I will say that she's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Beamer looks like she could run out there and play a full, game and also go
Yeah.
3 for 4 and steal a base. And yeah, she's been keeping herself in fine shape.
Yeah.
Softball, unfortunately, cut short. It looked like they were had broken out of their early season slump.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they break out of the gate next spring coming up here for sure. Going on to I guess other sports to take a look at here. Had a very nice interview with Sydney Shetman that we featured in the Wednesday Cardinal Couple article for you all to. Or was that Friday? My days are mixed up. Friday, yeah. I did that with her Friday. Certainly go to the Friday Cardinal Couple. Listen to that. She is a 2021 prospect out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She is a dual sport athlete participating in both volleyball and basketball at Washington High School in Sioux Falls, and doing darn good at both of them, if I might say so. She's 6'5", outside hitter. I think she would probably be a good post for Louisville. I know, Jeff, that piqued your interest when you saw the volleyball part of her dual commitment. And as she mentioned in the interview, it was basketball first, and she fell completely in love with volleyball and dropped basketball, and she came back into basketball, and now she's doing both. So I know you're excited about her addition.
Absolutely. At one point she commented in the interview about the number of blocks she had, and then I promptly thought, wait, which sport? So
yeah,
because she didn't clarify, so I think she meant basketball, but I'm not sure about that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think it was basketball.
Yeah, we haven't had a dual sport athlete in basketball and volleyball since Gwen Rucker. Obviously, we've had Imani Henderson since then, who did a period of time where she was playing both basketball and doing throwing for track and field. Beyond that, dual sport athletes, we had a I'm doing so terribly with names this morning. Basketball player that went on for a 5th year to play softball.
Patricia Barlow.
Yes, Patricia Barlow. Yes. Thank you. Gosh, do a total blank on that. Yes. So, I mean, we've had examples of this over the years. Mostly, I can't think of one that has done all of their eligibility with both sports in a long time. So we'll see how Sydney does with this. It certainly puts a lot of load on an athlete to do multiple sports. So we'll see how see if she can pull it off, see if she wants to, and if she doesn't want to, certainly that's understandable. We'll see what happens.
Case, I would think if she's going to endeavor to do both of these, and she fully seems like she's willing to do both of these, there might be a red shirt year in one of those, maybe for her freshman year would be my guess. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought we had talked about already that there was rumor she was going to redshirt volleyball her freshman year, as it was a very stacked roster for this year, or for her first year. It is this year as well, but she's not arriving this year. But I do wonder, we've talked about, I don't want to question her commitment to either sport at all, but she has gone back and forth a lot of times, and I do wonder whether taking that redshirt year is going to push her back into the direction of one or the other. If she's only playing one, maybe only playing one at that time shows that that's all the load she can carry, that's the one sport she wants to commit to. I think it's going to be a very interesting situation to see a player come in and try to fully devote to both while also redshirting from one.
We did discover in the interview that her most popular nickname is Big Sid. I kind of teased her about being 4'9" in the interview, which got a good laugh out of her, but she is actually 6'5". She said she also has some other various pet nicknames from the players that she wasn't going to mention to me, so don't know where those go at. We also found out that she is from a very, very athletic family. Her dad is in the South Dakota High School Hall of Fame. That's her grandfather is in that position, and a lot of her kin have gone to South Dakota State University and participated in athletics there. She also has a cousin who plays football at Iowa, and most importantly, we learned that she is a huge fan of Mexican food. So that made you fall in love with her immediately there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she also mentioned that I was telling Polly before the show, I got a little bit of a chuckle when she mentioned Jordan Larson as an athlete that she really looks up to. Now, Jordan Larson is a stand-up volleyball player. She played at University of Nebraska starting in 2005. I think it was her freshman year. And Sydney mentioned, yeah, she played volleyball at University of Nebraska, and I kind of chuckled because she kind of buried the lead on that one. Jordan Larson also is still playing on the U.S. Women's National Team. You'll see her in Tokyo whenever the 2020 Summer Olympics ever happen. So yes, she's a very fine player. Also, interestingly, while she was at Nebraska, her first year or two, I think, overlapped with our coach Danny Busby Kelly, who played there through 2006. So interesting connection there.
I mentioned to her what she thought of when she heard the initials PK.
Mm-hmm.
I did find out that PK, and I pronounced it correctly the first time. Thank you very much. Pegadon Kong, who will be at Louisville, also pursuing volleyball. Jeff, you can now call her PK. I thought you would be pleased.
Yeah, I've heard a different pronunciation than that. I have no idea. Sydney said you got it right. Maybe she was just being nice. I don't know.
Pegadan is what I came up with.
I've heard Pegrin, but I have no idea. I do intend to ask her the first time I meet her, so just to make sure. I want to try and get that right. I have not had that opportunity yet, of course. So, yeah, she's a delightful player from the looks of it. She's will be joining a team in the fall. We've spoken about her some previously. She's a big strong hitter and big leaps, big jumps, athletic, and from all accounts I've seen, including from Sydney, is just a lot of fun as a person. So it'd be interesting. Another wonderful person to join the team. I'm excited about it.
Some thoughts, Case, on Dan Meskey's role in securing her commitment to Louisville in volleyball. Of course, she was associated with them at an early age at camps and such, and also with the teams in the South Dakota area. Dan has just turned out to be a wonderful, wonderful hire for Danny, hasn't she?
Yeah, I think we've seen throughout all sports, some assistant coaches are hired to assistant coach, and that's not to take anything away from Dan Meskey's coaching ability. Some are acquired and a part of the coaching staff because of the connections that they have, their connections to youth circuits, youth athletics, camps, like you mentioned, really being involved with the circles that are going to lead to talent, right? To have those connections, we've seen Dan Meskey lead to some big time recruits for the volleyball program, and I think that that's going to continue until, of course, someone hires him away to coach their program in a head coaching position, because like I mentioned, I don't want to take away from his coaching abilities. He definitely has that talent as well.
Yeah, I think Dan is officially an associate head coach here at UofL. So it's kind of that little bit step up above what's normally considered an assistant head coach as far as title is concerned. Sydney mentioned that he was a head coach at Augustana University. Augustana. I'm not sure how to pronounce that exactly for sure either.
I think it is Augustana.
Augustana, okay. University, which is in Sioux Falls. He was there for a couple of years, I think. Before that, he was an assistant at UofL, at Nebraska, along with Danny Bespoon Kelly. So some of the connection there. Yeah, he has some tie into that Sioux Falls area. Um, Additionally, Maggie DeYoung, who is an alumna of the program, University of Louisville, is from Sioux Falls, and works with the club team that Sydney is a part of. So some connections there. There's so many connections here. It's really great. And yes, obviously, a lot of assistant coaches are very involved in that recruiting circuit. And Dan is no uh, no exception to that. He is in normal circumstances out on the road quite a bit and out there recruiting. Of course, with the whole UofL coaching staff does that a lot. So, but is Dan certainly has his finger on the pulse of a lot of recruits all over the place. It's really pretty impressive to talk to him about it. He has to be a little cagey on things sometimes, but yeah, to hear about some things out on the recruiting circuit is always interesting to talk to him.
We also discovered, Case, that she is a fan of both rap and country music, and they are interchangeable on her iPod and radio selections. That's an interesting combination to me, sir.
Yeah, as someone whose music library is vast and varied, and sometimes I hit all shuffle and am surprised by the transitions I get myself. I probably don't have any room to talk about someone's musical proclivities. So, live and let live when it comes to someone's music preferences. It's certainly an interesting combination, but I think with this is kind of an out there aside, but with the way that country music is kind of shifting to a more poppy and interesting sound in modern country, I think that they are a little bit more interchangeable than perhaps they used to be.
Yeah, Taylor Swift has certainly done a lot toward those regards, that's for sure.
It's not who I had in mind, but
And there are many others. The main thing about this interview leads into an interview I did last week with Peyton Verhulst. These two girls, for the age of 17, 16, 17, are remarkably adept at answering questions, expressing their personalities, their feelings, having excellent conversations with no one they've ever met before. Cardinal fans, you are going to love Sydney and you're going to love Peyton. And I think I can say that unequivocally. They are just fantastic people to talk to.
Yeah, I think some of these players are coming out of situations where they have the opportunities and the situations the it's privilege really ultimately when you get down to it to be able to have some of the background and develop more of that public speaking, that being out there publicly perspective. So they come in here, they're ready to talk to random dude on the phone that they've never talked to before, for example, and they do a great job with it. Obviously, UofL helps some of these student athletes along with that, with some guidance and some training on it as well. And we joke sometimes about seeing student athletes up on the post game press conference stuff, particularly with women's basketball. The first time, that whole deer in headlights look, and then by the time they're seniors, they're smooth professionals at it. But it's always nice when you come in with an ability to have that conversation ahead of time, and then you're just tweaking and improving on it. So it's great for some of these players that are coming in that you think are have a real chance of kind of being the face of the program going forward. It's fun to see.
Looking very forward to the 2021 class to come in, headlined by those two, and of course, we'll see who else is going to be part of that, if anyone else. But we also had a chance to talk to head Louisville women's soccer coach Karen Ferguson Days earlier in the week, and she was able to answer the question that I think if most Louisville women's soccer fans have on her mind, the early answer about the defense case, where she was able to let us know that she was going to miss the players that she had back there last year, but Macy Wissett and also Cassie Amshaw would be her two leading candidates as of now to join Sarah Hernandez in that back line with Gabby.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I've actually pulled up the U of L women's soccer roster, and they have turned the roster over. So new players are on it. Old players, well, not all freshmen. Freshmen are not on it yet, but old players are gone. The classes have updated, and there's currently one player that's listed as a defender, and it's not even Sarah Hernandez, the starting center defender. It's Kendra Steele, who's a senior. She was a transfer from the University of Portland out of Bellingham. I think that we'll probably see her play in that role as well. She's 5'8". You mentioned Cassie Hamshoff is going to move back. She's 5'7". Maisie Whitsett is 5'9". So it sounds like we're going to have a tall back line, which as a former goalkeeper, you can never complain about having someone that can move and be able to win balls in the air that way. Um, it's going to be interesting, I think, to see how that fills out. Obviously, Raven Alexander still listed as a forward, but she's going to fill one of those outside back spots. So it's really going to be Sarah Hernandez and Raven Alexander. We'll see in their same original positions from the last season, and we'll see how Coach decides to use those other three players. I think another good candidate to fill in that position might be Jessica DiFilippo. But obviously, we'll also have some freshmen coming in that will get some time at defense as well.
One of the things that we talked about as well is the month of July. The month of July is traditionally a very huge camp month for several sports down there, including women's soccer. They actually have three separate camps down on the Belknap campus in July, which are assisted with student athletes. Karen wasn't able to tell us with any degree of certainty whether those camps would still go or not, depending, I guess, on how things transpire with our world. But I think it's interesting here in Jefferson County where some youth leagues are scheduled to be starting in June. I wonder if these camps in July will still go. Your guys' thoughts on that?
It seems unlikely to me to think about camps happening that quickly. I know it's several months off still, but social distancing is extremely difficult in that situation. We hear Andy Bashir talking about that on his press conferences at 5 o'clock most every day. And then he's even addressed some of the summer camp things, which is a little more towards kids oriented, like, day camps and stuff. But it is a similar sort of situation with sports camps like that. So I kind of think they're probably not going to happen this year, but I clearly am not a medical expert, and I'm gladly not the one that has to be making that decision. So I kind of think it probably would be unwise to, based on what we see of the situation right now. In a couple months maybe that changes, but right now it doesn't seem likely.
Yeah, I think the other thing is,
I was going to hate to interrupt you. I was going to ask you a twofold question toward this. First of all,
Yep.
camps are a very big money maker for the respective programs that host them in July, and they also help identify maybe some future stars to keep an eye on. But go ahead with what you were going to say there. I just wanted to interject that and get your thoughts on that.
yeah, I was going to say that it's really going to have to do with the entire university landscape, right? You're not going to have an ID camp on campus if the university decides that they're not having students return to campus, which is still a major question that I know a lot of universities are trying to sort out right now, and they're all keeping up with the news that seemingly changes daily and weekly to try and make the best determination on that. I do know that there are some camps, some summer type camps that are recurring that are moving to virtual. Here in Kentucky specifically, I know that the Governor's School for the Arts, GSA, which is one of the counterparts of the Governor's Scholars Program, GSP, GSA is doing an online GSA this year. They're doing completely virtual, so you will not be attending a college campus this summer. You'll be doing online classes and online projects and the like. I wouldn't be surprised to see GSP follow suit with something like that.
Right.
And I think that's going to have an impact on other summer style camps. And like, yeah, you mentioned ID camps are important for finding local players. Louisville has one, two, three, 5 players on the roster from the city of Louisville right now. It's a safe assumption that they were at a U of L ID camp at some point. Um, it's going to maybe impact the bottom line a little bit, but I don't think that any university program should be depending on the revenue from an ID camp as a major budget item. That's probably got some costs associated with it that most of those fees would go towards anyway. That's more about helping the community, helping the players, and helping the program find players. What's important for U of L that is new is going to be the NWSL Academy team. And I think that will help soften the blow of missing ID camps, is that Academy team is going to be, hosting tryouts and camps and the like. That's going to bring a lot of local players. And I can imagine Coach KFD or her assistants are going to be in tow at most of those tryouts to pay attention to the local talent.
When you take a look at the nature of things that are going on, Jeff, right now, U of L pushed very heavily this week, Giving Tuesday, the annual event where you can give to various organizations. Cardinal Couple was a contributor to Giving Tuesday in past years. Our former venue, WCHQ, was listed on there as a spot that you could give to. And certainly it did help sustain the station in earlier years. Just your whole thoughts, Jeff, on the Giving Tuesday concept?
Yeah, charitable giving is a particularly important thing right now, where so many people are relying on some charities for day-to-day living situations, more so than usual, at least. And but similarly, then a lot of people that would normally contribute to some of these charities are not in a situation that they can right now, due to some of their own situations. It's yeah, I got to be careful not to get political, but yeah, it's an important thing. It's a valid and reasonable approach to trying to help people out in this tough time. And U of L has always picked up on that and has always been a benefactor there. U of L athletics and the including with the scholarship funds that they have. And let's not forget that this doesn't just go to current student athletes, paying their scholarships to be involved in their athletics. It also goes to former student athletes with they have scholarship funds that help former student athletes continue their education career and complete it potentially if they were not able to for a variety of reasons during their eligibility time. So, it's an encouraging thing. It's a positive thing. So, encourage people to continue to give their Giving Tuesday is past at this point, obviously, but that doesn't mean you can't give. Also, and this is one of the things that I'm working with right now as I'm figuring out in a relatively new employment situation that what the policies and processes on getting an employer match. My employer matches charitable giving, so I'm working through how to make that happen, just the process to get it done. But looking to kind of leverage that to essentially double up any of the giving that I do. So if maybe consider and look at if your employer has a match that you can leverage to increase the impact there.
Case, it's always been a important thing for Cardinal Couple to contribute to these, in addition to the monies that we have that we get primarily through advertising sponsors on the website. We're able to help out the women's programs, and also this year I expanded that to Giving Tuesday. Just some of your thoughts on, especially right now, how this program is going to do, because there are so many people unemployed right now.
Yeah, I think anytime we're in a situation like we are in, it's not the first time in my lifetime that the country has been in a situation like this. Probably won't be the last. But it's good to see people still have that giving spirit. We saw it early on in the Louisville area. They set up the GoFundMe for supporting people directly impacted um, by financial situations or direct illnesses and the like. I don't remember exactly what the relief fund was called, but that was set up by the city of Louisville, and it reached its goals and beyond um, for donations and charitable giving. I think that it's encouraging to see people still have that giving spirit in a time when maybe they themselves are struggling, but know that other people are struggling more and are still willing to support them.
Agreed 100%. If you can't afford to give and it's not going to kill you to give. Even if you can't give a lot, go ahead and give to somebody out there that would certainly appreciate and be able to use what you're able to provide them with. Mr. Jared Anderson, a couple of rights this week, and Jared relayed to us his favorite athletes. That had to be a tough thing to do. He had a pretty good list of some people on there. He was able to find accompanying pictures for him with each one of his favorite athletes. Maybe they had a bit to do with it. I'm not sure. He even had the rare to spot, possibly endangered species of worldwide at a baseball game
Yeah,
picture.
yeah. That was an interesting. I just kind of randomly went. This was before they started, having ticketed baseball games a few years back. You can tell by how short my hair is. And I kind of walked in, and Jared was there with some of their friends, some of which I knew, and just kind of randomly walked in. I was like, "Oh, hey," and ended up sitting down and having a lot of fun. That was a fun day out there.
We'll take a look at some of his selections, and certainly you can go read the Thursday article where he lists all his favorites. He also pestered me for a couple of my favorites, and I put them in there. But let's take this around like we used to do around the table once. If we look at women's basketball, Case, do you have a favorite in women's basketball and your experiences with the program?
A favorite women's basketball player. I'll keep with Jared's rules, which means that it's a player that was here while he was here. Uh, I think it may be. I hadn't considered it, so it's really putting me on the spot. But I think I'm going to go with Sam Fearing. Um, she's just such a fierce competitor, incredible talent. I really think she deserves a chance in the WNBA, but she's taking her talents across the pond, um, taking the opportunity that she can. I really enjoyed watching Sam Fearing play, and always felt that when she was in the game, in a tight situation, UofL always had a chance to make something happen.
Very good selection there. It was my old comment from a couple years back that I would fear no evil and walk down any dark alley with Sam on one side and Maisha Hines Allen on the other side. Very safe and secure. All right, Jeff, your thoughts on this? Somebody that you would put up there?
Gosh, I'd probably pick out some ones from a while back as some ones that maybe not get as much attention. When I first started going to UofL women's basketball games, Katie Olson was playing, and I really enjoyed watching her play. She was a little bit under the radar sometimes back then, but a solid utility player out on the field or on the court. Kayla Faulkner, I thought was a lot of fun. She only played 1 year with us, her freshman year. She was not a particularly high skilled player, but she was maybe that attack Yorkie mindset. Very quick, super quick out on the court. Harassing defense, relatively short. So she was a lot of fun, and she was just a lot of fun in general. I think beyond the court. More recently, probably Kylie Shook is going to be on my list as my favorite player of late. But then also the continuing, pretty much the whole attack Yorkie squad over the years, up to and including certainly Jess Limley most recently. So a lot of fun.
Two very good picks there for sure. I I originally had said Erica Carter is my favorite. Just the whole AC syndrome, talking with her, just getting to know what kind of person she was. But then I realized that, man, do I really pick her over Jess Lemley, who I had kind of the same relationship with? It's very, very tough for me. This is a head bob. It's gone down to the wire. We're going to have to go to a photo finish on those two for me. Both of them, of course, very huge in Louisville's success over the years. AC certainly one that just improved so much from her freshman year on into, and then had a brief stint in the WNBA. Hopefully, she'll get back up there and do some things. Still think about her quite often, guys.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll move to your sport next, pal. Volleyball. Give me a volleyball player, Jeff.
Gosh, I'm gonna throw two out there again. Several out there. Yeah, it's kind of over the years. Again, sort of the same sort of time frame of my involvement with UofL volleyball. I'm gonna mention Justine Landy way back in the day. Not way back in the day, but back in the day, more than a few years ago. And Emily Jewell is kind of in that similar vein of player. Powerful serves, front line attacker and blocker. Although at one point in Justine Landy's career, she got moved to setter, which was a little odd. But she's a very, very fine. She was. I presume she probably still is a very fine volleyball player, and he handled that quite well. Recently, I think Aiko Jones is currently on the squad. Is one of my favorites. She's been obviously had a bit of a breakout year this year, and is one of so many, but certainly a very delightful person off the court, beyond the court as well. So those are the ones I would probably mention there predominantly.
Be interested to hear your thoughts on this one on volleyball, Case.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the same route as Jared. For me, it's Katie George. She's just when I arrived on campus, she was just the name to know that was associated with the volleyball team. The excitement that she has brought to local media now with the ACC network. She spent time with the Milwaukee Bucks. She's just a really fun personality. Great to hear her voice. Knowledgeable about sports other than just her own. She's just a very exciting player. And from all accounts, a very exciting person. So, yeah, I'm sticking with Katie George.
I'm once again down to the wire with a head bob on these two. I loved Molly Sauer when she played for the Cards. Certainly would be one that I would have up there in that photo finish, but I've also got to go with Jasmine Bennett and the excitement that she brought the program when she was there, and also because of her dad in the stands whenever he was out there. That was another sideshow that she had to pay attention to. Those two, of course, there's others you could mention, but it's a photo finish for me between those two guys. And we've mentioned some very good players there for sure. Absolutely so. And even more that we didn't mention.
Oh, there's so many. Yeah, I could probably list about 10 over the years that I could. Lola Arslanbekova, was a fantastic player that was incredible to watch play. Brooke Betts, I think, was a great player. The couple of years she was here, she did transfer out and then came back as a graduate assistant. There's so many names that I can name of people that I may have a little bit of a different take on it from you all because I do tend to have a little more individual connection with some of these because I get to know them a little bit beyond the court as well. But yeah, these are some really fascinating, interesting people. Melanie McHenry, I mean, she's been so much fun to watch over the past 4 years.
Certainly has a bright future ahead of her and whatever she decides to do. I do hope that she does go and explore coaching possibilities even further than the kind of student coach she was at the end of her season, Jeff, because she's really into the game. She knows the game and she knows how to teach the game.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, let's go from something that's a lot of fun over at Cardinal Arena to something that happened this week that doesn't exactly fall within the realm of the joy and excitement of UofL women's sports, which is our mission statement. The mysterious case of Mr. Todd Sharp. A PR nightmare for the University of Louisville, I do believe, but when the news broke about a body being discovered at his house. Guys, just what do you make of all this? Jeff, what do you think about this?
Yeah, obviously it's a bit of a tragic situation and on multiple levels. My biggest takeaway is that there's clearly some issues there that I think there needs to be some help found somewhere, and I hope that Todd is able to find that, and you know, it seems like I've never met the man personally, but it seems like he went kind of on this downhill spiral, and I hope that he gets the help that I seems to me from afar that he really needs. You know, it's tragic on multiple levels. Obviously, there's a lost life there, which just really sucks, no matter how you cut it. But also, you know, there's clearly a need for some assistance there, and I hope that he can find what he needs to put his life back on a positive track, I think.
You know, Case, this is a guy who had his own reality TV series at one time, and he is now spiraled downward into not only shooting himself in his own foot, but
Literally.
Figuratively and literally.
Yeah.
literally, and also with the dead body. Some of your thoughts on the former Lady Birds coach?
Yeah, Jeff mentioned tragic situation, both for the family um, of the deceased, that we don't know a lot about this situation, so I don't want to speculate on any of it. But also tragic situation for Todd, as he mentioned. I think that you mentioned it's a PR nightmare for the university, and they really just can't get away from it. And I don't know what. There is no real good way to get away from it, because of the national prominence that the Ladybirds had. They were a fantastic team. They were an aspiration for cheerleaders and dancers from around the country. They were on a TV show where he just was associated with the University of Louisville, and after the fallout from what happened here with him, or what didn't happen, there's still some questions about the whole situation there. UofL is just trying to get away, but everything that happens with Todd Sharp is just going to be associated with him, or with them, as former Ladybirds coach Todd Sharp, right? Because they just can't break that connection. It is very unfortunate what's happening. Anytime you hear an event that's happening with him, it is clear that something, like Jeff said, something has to be done to find him some help, whether the university tries to assist with that or not, because of the association still, or what. It's just sad. It's sad for him. It's sad for anybody that's associated with happenings of him, and it's sad for the university that they can't distance themselves when they continue to get hammered by seemingly reminders of scandals after scandals, just to continue to be thrown into the fire of something they have nothing to do with.
You know, it's often said that the first step toward recovery from such a bad situation is actually realizing that you have a problem and admitting that you need help for the problem that you have. And I truly and sincerely hope with all my heart that he can overcome his rather egotistic nature and sit down and think to himself, I got a bad problem here. I realize it. I need some help. I'm going to get some help. Because that's the first step toward coming back. And, yeah, what's the chances of him listening to our broadcast? Probably nil and none, right? But,
Right.
Todd, if you're listening out there, go get some help, buddy. Realize you got a problem and get it done. Get yourself in a situation where you're not continuing to slip further down that slippery slope, so to speak. Indeed. Moving back though to the joy and excitement of UofL Women's Sports, we got some great news earlier in the week about field hockey, guys, a fall sport with 8 new signees to the class of 2020, and it looked like Justine Sowery and Lucas Piccioli, those that go out and do the recruiting, we're looking for midfielders, and man, did they come up with a slew of those. They've got 6 of the 8 that they are bringing in for 2020 are listed as midfielders. With Maitland Deman, a midfielder out of Waretown, New Jersey. Mia Duchers, a midfielder out of St. Louis, Missouri. We've had some good players in many sports come out of St. Louis recently.
Indeed.
Embry James Amorti, who's a forward. And she's out of Louisville, Kentucky, guys. How about that? That connection continues.
Mm-hmm.
Bridget Lowry, midfielder from Wayne, Pennsylvania. Alina Mayer, back from Baden-Württemberg, Germany. And I've got to think back to when was the last player we had on the Louisville field hockey team that was out of Germany. I can't really.
I could give me a minute and I'll come up with it.
I can picture one, but I can't come up with.
Right, that's what, me too. I'm missing on the name again because I am terrible with names.
To round out that list of players, we've got Sophia Pendolino, a midfielder out of Hummelstown, Pennsylvania. Amy Plum, who we discussed on previous shows, a midfielder, and she's from Canterbury, Kent, England. So maybe there will be some Canterbury tales we can tell about her in her career here at Louisville. Last but not least, Charlie Van Der Schot, a midfielder from Haarlem, not the New York borough, but Haarlem, the Netherlands, which I think Case has mentioned in the past. This looks like a pretty solid group of players here, guys.
Yeah, it's a little difficult for me to judge. I don't keep up with high school field hockey that much, but certainly the nice spread of backgrounds is always interesting. And of course, Justine Soweries has demonstrated that she's willing to cover the globe in her recruiting efforts, and along with her coaching staff. So this is no surprise here to see several non-U.S. players involved in this. But incidentally, the last the player that you're probably thinking of, and I was as well, is Lotte Collert, who was from Hamburg, Germany, graduated in 2016.
That is correct, sir.
Yep.
You nailed it. I couldn't come up with Lotte's name.
Yep. So
very influential on that team.
Yeah, she was great. She had a great senior year too. Really kind of broke through her senior year and had some great games there.
Case the Netherlands, Holland, that area, Dutchland, over there are all very, very renowned for very good field hockey players. Minnie Mink was one of those that in past years that has been in Louisville for a while. They now have another one on the team now. It seems like field hockey is up there with some of the other sports as far as getting in international players to build rosters, and they tend to have a lot of success playing the game.
Yeah, you hope that these players that are coming from across the pond don't suffer from the same homesickness that Minnie Mink ultimately did, returning back, gracing UofL with her talents for just a couple of seasons. And if the same does happen, then you hope that those players are supported in whatever decisions that they make. I'm sure they would be, but you also hope that you can utilize the talents that they're going to provide for the time being. UofL's got a stacked roster next year, specifically looking at just a couple of players from the Louisville area that Embry Jane is sure to be familiar with, particularly Maddie Tabor, her teammate at Sacred Heart prior to Louisville. I think that there's a good chance that these players will be able to fit in easily on the team, both the American and the international players. UofL field hockey has a strong international presence. The current players and the current coaching staff that are from abroad will transitions of those players, and I think that it'll be a really exciting season for the newcomers and the returnees.
And certainly it's a season I hope that will happen even without spectators. I'd sure love to be able to watch myself some field hockey this fall for sure. Got a bit of sad news though out of Louisville City FC. Came basically broke out on Twitter recently here about Howie Lindsay, who the affable radio host from years past, contributor to sports columns for several publications, and most recently he was the director of public relations down there with Louisville City FC, is no longer with that program. Just some thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, first and foremost, Howie Lindsay is he's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. If you have the opportunity to meet him in person. I've said this before on our radio show, and we'll say it again and again. You know, if you're thinking about hiring Howie Lindsay into your organization, uh, you won't go wrong. He has an incredible culture fit for an organization. He's just a great guy, super nice guy, positive, energetic, enthusiastic. He will, just by talking to him, you'll be ready to run through a wall. Um, he has an incredible voice in his time on the radio, and I mean that in multiple facets. Obviously, the timbre of his voice is very great. Right, he sounds good on the radio, but also his voice is, as far as being able to put thoughts together, and to give a coherent message is unlike many people on the radio or on TV that I've ever seen. So obviously, he's a great guy. I want to see him do well. I'm sure he will. He will land on his feet because he's amazing. But I will say, if you have the opportunity to hire him in a position that would be a good fit for him, you won't go wrong.
Casey was also awfully kind to Cardinal couple too during his radio days, and of course you were heavily involved with the building of the new soccer stadium down there. Just some of your thoughts on Howie leaving them.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think it was pretty clear from his uh, tweets about the situation that it was not his choice. He really enjoyed, from his Twitter feed, he really enjoyed being a part of that program and a part of what they were building down there at City. So it is a shame to see that end. He's doing a very good job as well, I believe. It'd be great to see him return to an association with the University of Louisville, because I agree. I think he had a great mind for the athletics at U of L. I'm very passionate as a fan and a supporter of all of the athletics programs, like you mentioned, Paulie. Supported Cardinal couple and U of L women's athletics. Unfortunate that it seems unlikely he would be part of the actual university with the changes they've had to make. I assume they are not going to be hiring anyone anytime soon, at least for the time being. So I'll be excited to see where his future leads him. I hope it's somewhere that is with a team that I support, so that I can enjoy him and the things he talks about at the same time. But we'll see. I wish him all the best.
Had some great conversations with Harry over the years. He had reached out to us at one time and said, "Hey, I want to bring you on the radio once a week to talk women's sports with me for 10 minutes." And that was something that we have, of course, had our own show, but to be on a larger scale audience that he had at 790 at the time, it was an opportunity for us to get on there, get the word out about it a little bit. We got some nice comments about our spot once a week with him. I owe Howie a very, very big debt of gratitude for doing that for Cardinal couple, and we'll always remember him for that. And also, like Jeff mentioned earlier, he was just one of those great down to home earth kind of guys that you just love chatting with. A lot of fun to sit down and shoot the bull with Harry, not only on sports but other issues as well. He was very, very big into politics, and he would gladly discuss his political views and issues in the world of government and such with you at any time. I think that had he not gone into the sports venue, I think he would have made a pretty good politician, to be quite honest with you. A guy that probably could have garnered a lot of votes too. But Howie, the old adage is a window closes, a door opens, buddy. So I think a door is going to open for you that's going to go on and be something great for you. And we'll still be loving you over here, Cardinal couple, for sure. Absolutely.
For
All
sure.
right, guys. Clock on the wall is telling me that it's maybe time for us to get and do some final thoughts. So let's go ahead and go in alphabetical order this week. Let's start out with Case.
Ah, always with me, starting with the final thoughts.
Not always, just a lot.
Not always. It's good.
Do you want Jeff to? Do you want to forego your draft pick and go to Jeff with it?
No, I'll start. It's fine. I just want to. I think it's kind of been a common final thought, but as things do start to return to a bit of a, a of normalcy, I guess, with the heavy air quotes around that. I just want everyone to. I told my parents this last night. Just be prepared for what could be a new normal. We may not return to the normal that we know before. Stay safe, keep each other safe, and if you're going to celebrate Mother's Day, it is possible to just drive over to your parents' house and sit in the car and roll down the windows and talk while they sit in lawn chairs in the yard. You know, wipe down the gift with Lysol, leave it on the counter, and move on. That's what we did last night. It was really nice. I hope everyone has a nice Mother's Day, and I hope everybody stays safe in this ongoing situation.
Very good words, Kurt. Very good words indeed, Case. Jeff, what you got?
After the discussion today, I want to go watch Jordan Larson play some volleyball. I haven't been able to watch volleyball in a while. So just thinking about her time in the national team. Come on, Olympics. I want to, they're not going to happen this summer, but, being delayed. But, I want to watch some volleyball. Yeah, it is what it is. Well, if that's the biggest problem in my life, I'm doing pretty well. But, yeah.
I also am anxious under the right terms and conditions to see the return of collegiate sports. We cover a lot of different aspects of women's sports at UofL here at Cardinal Couple on both the radio shows, the website. Over the past several months, I've had the chance to talk to some incredible coaches, some incredible former players, some incredible future players, and players that are currently still with the various programs down at UofL. And I desperately want to see them get back out there again and do things, but I do have to side completely with our governor as compared to other states' governors. We've done this thing the right way so far. Our casualty rates, our infected rates are much lower because we've practiced the 10 steps. And hey, it's an old rowing term. If our stroke's good and we're out in front of the other boats, we're not going to change it up. Let's keep going toward the finish line, okay? So that's the way I'm going to leave it. Let's not get too anxious and too overexcited and hyped about getting back out to things while there are still things going on out there where there's a lot of people getting sick and a lot of people having to go to the ICU. So, patience, my friends. Have some patience, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right, Jeff, sing me the Hazel song because I know you've been practicing it already.
Right. Yeah. I won't inflict that on people. Thank you for listening to the show today, folks. Appreciate it. See you next week.
We'll see you.